The ego constantly grew, and they had to all the time derive the positive force from nature in order to balance it and grow this way. The evil force grows on its own, and against it they draw some positive force. Right, that's the work. That is the work of Israel. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't exactly draw the positive force against the negative force which grew. And the connection which they built between them, this connection called the first temple, broke. And then again, they went into strife and friction and bad egoistic relations. That's called that they went into exile. They fell from the connection, from the good and nice relations, into egoistic relations. That's called exile, meaning that they were in exile of the good force, of the balanced system. And afterwards, nonetheless, they searched for ways how to overcome it because the exile itself, the feeling of exile, is terrible. And the ego itself pushes them to change, as it says also about Pharaoh, who brought them closer to it. So a person suffers and wants change. Yeah. And then they started discovering the good force. And then they rise above the separation and connect once again. When they connect again, they build between them the next system of the right connection, which is called the second temple. It's a system. It's a system between them. It's not a building. Here we're talking only about relations between people. And when they build the temple, the system between them, they held on to it, they kept it for a certain time, the system, the relations between them, but still the evil force constantly grew and grew, and eventually they fell from it. The evil force overcame, they couldn't exactly balance it, and once again they fell under the influence of the evil force, which is called the destruction of the temple. And then they fell from the level of brotherly love on to unfounded hatred. In those times, the one considered wise among the people of Israel was Rabbi Akiva. He taught the people of Israel the method of love. What else does the wisdom of Kabbalah teach? Nothing, only that. Therefore, whoever is in the ego hates the wisdom of Kabbalah and doesn't want to understand it, acknowledge it, and doesn't have the ability to come close to it. So, Rabbi Akiva, nonetheless, he taught the people of Israel. He had 24,000 students, and he taught them, and still the ego broke out between them so badly that they became alienated towards each other, distanced from one another, started disrespecting each other. And here we're talking about people who are the students of Rabbi Akiva. All of them were great Kabbalists. But this is what happened. And then came the plague, and they all died. 24,000 of his students died. And this plague started after Passover, where you start counting, and until the 33rd day, which is in Hebrew Lag. And on Lag, it came to an end. The plague ended, and this is a special day. And after all of his students passed away, the temple was destroyed. Rabbi Akiva, he felt that it's going to happen. He knew why it's going to happen, that it's the future plan, that we have to go through all of these sad events. And he taught another 5 special students who remained in those times. One of them wrote the Babylonian Talmud, and one of them, Rabbi Shimon, he wrote the book of Zohar. That this is how they passed the Torah on to us. The Babylonian Talmud was open for everyone from the moment it was written. As the Mishnah, it's based on the Mishnah. The Mishnah is based on the Torah. So there, you see the continuity. Whereas the hidden Torah, written by Rabbi Shimon, how to use that good force and to reach an ever-advancing balance between the good and bad force in our nature. The book was written and hidden. They hid it until the times where really humanity will start once again discovering that it is so immersed in the evil force that out of helplessness, because they'll have no choice, they'll agree to use the good force and pull it, derive it from the depth of nature, so to speak, to reveal it, and by that to balance the evil force, and the world will come to correction as a result. And not only the people of Israel and the Kabbalists, but following them, the entire world. And it says so a lot in the Kabbalistic books, and these are the times in which we are, and therefore the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealing. So Rabbi Shimon, he is a Tana, meaning a great sage from the times of the Zohar and the Talmud, the days of the Mishnah, who truly was an attainment of the depth of nature with the good and bad force, the way nature is balanced to its very depth and how we'll have to discover it in the future. He discovered it with his 10 students. We already talked about the number 10. And then, when he discovered it, he wrote, not he himself, but he spoke and his students wrote it down, rewrote it. In short, they arranged the book. They hid this book for our times, but it was revealed before that, around the 11th century, and it was known what and how, and since it was revealed, many people used it and developed the wisdom of Kabbalah too, in a way that through Rabbi Moshe de Leon and the Ari and the Ramchal, the Ramak, Baal Shem Tov, and eventually Baal Sulam in the 20th century. These were all Kabbalists that came after him. Yeah, but the main thing for us is, what's important for us is that Baal Sulam, in Hebrew meaning the master of the ladder, he wrote the commentary of the Sulam to the book of Zohar. Baal Sulam, Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag, and we use it, and we learn from it, and based on the book of Zohar, other Kabbalistic books were written that by using them, we all in all learn how to derive the good force that doesn't exist in our world, that humanity doesn't know about it at all, and by it to balance man's nature and bring the world to correction and human society to balance and all people to love, so that love covers for all crimes, that the good force covers the bad force, and both of them will exist together, and this is actually the future that the world has to come to. And we're working towards that, and for us, Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the teacher, because all the Kabbalists derive forces from his book, ideas, how to operate, and he was the first one to teach the wisdom of Kabbalah in practice to his 10 students, and he himself corrected the spiritual matter of the 10, and therefore when we use the 10s in our studies, we actually connect to his group, which is responsible for revealing this positive force to us, and he, for us, is of course a teacher to this day.